right. Thank you for tuning in today. I thought today I would do something a little bit different since this is a special milestone. We are on the 100th episode for Serves You Right, something that I can't believe. Looking back at all the episodes, all the intros, all the mid-rolls that I've filmed, thinking back through all the second and third takes, taking everything I've done, I'm estimating conservatively that it's probably been like 100 hours of recording, if not more. And it's wild to think that, even if I sat down for 4 days straight, back to back, and did nothing but film, I still have more recordings and more output than even 4 full 24-hour days would produce. It's just crazy. So I thought that it would be fun to take a moment and celebrate episode 100 with the top lessons that I've learned from the last 100 episodes, things that I wish that I knew beforehand, things that I've discovered along the way, and things that I have found to be valuable and learning experiences. So here we go. The first one is a doozy. Stop planning and just do it. So I had to bring this one up. I think this is the classic issue of someone who is in their head, has big ideas and dreams, and just doesn't know where to go from there. For probably 6 months before I started the show, I was thinking about it. It took me months to even mention it to my wife. And something about the idea just, I don't know, it just seemed like, who am I to start this show? Is that reasonable? Like, could I stick with it? What would she think? What would other people think? How would that actually work? What are going to be, like, how am I going to film? What am I going to do? Like, any project, anything you take on, it is an endless list of question marks, which is honestly why most people end up not doing many things at all. But I learned more in the first 4 episodes, even though God, if you go back and listen to them, I'm half of me has wanted to delete them and half of me is just let them live. Yeah, they're really embarrassing. And I had just literally no idea. But once you start figuring it out. So it's okay, day one, I need to do something. If I'm going to release a podcast, I have to record it. Okay, I need a recording mic. It's great. Am I going to do it alone or am I going to have someone? Oh, if I'm going to have someone, I should probably ask someone. And as trivial and as silly as it sounds, it is just you going through a list of what is this problem? How do I address this problem? Move on to the next. And all the planning in the world that I did, all the thinking, didn't even hold a candle to what it was going to be like. And I just can't stress this enough. You learn so much more when you just take a step. So if you're thinking about doing something like this, if you are thinking, maybe I should launch my Instagram channel about XYZ. If you're thinking, should I ask out that girl? Should I do the new job? Should I try the new thing? Just do it. Learn more doing the planning. You always do. The second one that I have on here, the best and the worst parts are the people. And so I definitely need to talk about that. So in the last 100 episodes, I have reached out to, talked, planned with, interacted with an insane number of people. I've dealt with people that run different marketing divisions in different alcohol companies. I've had to deal with schedules across the Atlantic. I've done with all sorts of crazy things. And the truth is, there's some really fantastic people out there. I've met some incredible people. Some of the people that I have followed, learned from, read their stuff, idolized, turned up to be the most pleasant and fantastic people I could have ever imagined. There are also other types of people in the world. I'm trying to say this diplomatically. And the first thing that pops to everyone's mind is oh, am I dealing with assholes? Which you see some people like that in the world. In general, if you are interacting with enough people and have enough notoriety, you really can't survive being that big of an asshole. You just can't, because eventually people are going to find out. I don't know, it's just all the other things, and part of the issue and part of the difficulty that I had to learn with this, and one of the things I'm very proud of, is learning how, since there is no sort of centralized system in today's day and age with the internet, with the proliferation of all these different channels, different ways to promote yourself, put out your info, it's like you're dealing with 1,000 little fiefdoms. You know, you got 1,000 little small villages that operate on their own policies, rules, assumptions, questions, and you really truly never know what you're going to get. And, you know, I've had everything where like the big people, the big names, the things that I would not expect, it's like, oh yeah, XYZ are my questions. You answered those. Let's get this on the books and go. And like the thing that you thought would take months is like booked and ready to go tomorrow. And you have the people who are the complete opposite. And it's just like, I've had people that have a lot of questions and are very detailed. And every time I meet someone that is like that, I do learn an incredible amount about how to interact with future people, about what questions matter, about different issues that maybe are arising in people's minds that they don't think to ask. So I am grateful for every time that happens, but you literally never know what to expect. So the best and the worst parts about anything, especially if you are dealing with people, it is the people. And yeah, you you take the good with the bad, because if you are running an interview podcast, there is no other option. Number 3 is another really big one that I'm very happy to have learned. And it's, you have more time than you realize. And that seems to be a strange thing to say, but I want to explain it. I think that this is something that a lot of like new parents discover. I think this is something that you realize gradually as you get more and more serious and as you grow and become more just dependent on, relied on someone who is taking life seriously. When you're younger, and if this sounds judgmental, don't let it sound judgmental. Just hear older Andrew talking to younger Andrew here. When you are younger, you don't use time as well as you think you do. There are a lot more hours in the day than you realize when you spend a large part of it sleeping in, scrolling on social media, reading just books for fun, which, you know, don't get me wrong. This is not some like hustle grind culture diatribe. Relaxation, rest, those are good, important, productive things. But I think everyone over indexes on those, especially when you're young. You can handle a lot more than you realize. And I've begun to realize that the more that I do this, the more things that I try. It's like between 9 a.m., which is when I get done eating breakfast with my wife, and roughly 1 and 2 p.m. when I have to get ready and go to work when I close. Like that is 5 hours. That is a shift in like a service industry job. Like those hours would drip away in the past. And having something where you have commitments, the interesting thing about an interview podcast that takes about an hour is there is no getting away from that time constraint. It does take about an hour. And like you have to build in the time. You have to deal with that. And the more that I've had to juggle things, the more that I've had to develop systems, the more I've realized that, God, like 5 hours is an infinity if you treat it well, protect it. Yes, 5 hours can be eaten up by all sorts of things. And like, trust me, I'm not any different from anyone else. Like the other day, we had to get Aunt's car work done, so we had to go take it in. Like you realize you're out of half and half, and I just don't drink coffee without half and half, so you got a trip to the store. Like, yes, life happens. And yes, the 5 hours you thought you had with the cleaning and the running the laundry turns into 3.5, but 3.5 hours is still a good chunk. Like Parkinson law, where the amount of time that you give a task, the task will expand to fill that time, is in a lot of times true. Like, I guess I'm really not going anywhere with this besides saying, like, when you take on a project that demands your time, something that you want to do and you're excited to do, it is amazing how your time does seem to expand. And like, yes, you do have to sacrifice some free time. Yes, you may have gotten used to doing XYZ and you have to drop it, but yeah, you will find more time than you expect. That is what I've discovered. So, number 5. It's one that still makes me laugh and still irritates me to this day. I just wrote down, it's hard to talk. I am sure that if you've listened to this whole show, you know that I have a personal vendetta against saying, the amount of time that I have been listening to someone engrossed in what they say and say, drives me crazy. I misspeak all the time. I use words that I don't intend to use. I stumble. This is the negative view of my speech. And I will venture to guess that anyone out there listening, if you are interested in starting a podcast, if you're doing anything where you record yourself and put yourself out on social media, you will begin to find the same thing. Everyone finds the same thing. If you have to listen back to your speech, what seemed to be fluid, well thought out, well spoken, always comes back to you until you just do it again and again as halting, jarring, terrible verbiage. What the heck am I talking about? It has been the bane of my existence, and I am so glad for that. One of the things that I didn't like about myself before I started this show, one of the things that I always wanted to work on, but I didn't know how and I didn't know what path I should take to work on this, was my speech. I find that I mumble more than I would like. I find that when I was on the spot, sometimes I did well, sometimes I didn't, and I wanted more consistency. And I think the only way to gain consistency, and I think the only way to get better at those things, is to practice. And it's not quite clear what it means to practice unless you have some different way where you can actually see, review, and improve. Like, there's no feedback loop for using the words and like in day-to-day language unless you do it like unless you use it just like to an extreme extent. If you sound like a Valley girl who's saying like every few minutes, maybe someone would bring it up. But in your day-to-day conversations, no one is going to point out that you're using filler words, that what you said didn't quite make sense, at least not in those words. If you say something that doesn't quite make sense, maybe they'll say, wait, I didn't quite get that. What? But there's no like loop. There's no solid thing to go back to. And it's like, it's as simple as it could be. But yeah, you film yourself and you find all these things. And that is part of the journey and part of the fun of doing anything to improve yourself. When I go and listen to the past versus the last week versus the episode that I filmed on Saturday, I'm like, day and night. Oh, man. And it is hard to see the gradual improvement, but if you keep focusing on it, there will be improvement. And I'm excited. I'm ecstatic for what is going to be my ability in 2 years. Where will I be and what kind of abilities will I have and will I have developed if I just keep going? And like, that is something that really thrills me. And it just takes time. It really does. Number 6 is attention is king. So this has been a big one for me. I'm sure that people out there have heard this. It's almost cliche at this point, but when most people are talking, I would say that most people are not actually listening to what the other person is saying. It's more along the lines of, I'm biding my time, waiting to where I can interject and say what has been on my mind, which does get you through life. A lot of people, if you're just going through your day-to-day, working through the motions, you see the person pass them on the street, you kind of know, you talk about the weather. Like, there aren't any big reasons to change that. It works well enough. But if you actually pay attention to the other person, it changes a lot. And working on that one habit, just like listening to what they're saying and trying to take it in and trying to like, yes, okay. It is the most basic, simple thing in the world. And it has dramatically changed a lot about what's going on. It's funny, I'm 36 and it took 36 years of my life for me to fully absorb and put into practice the advice that you should pay attention to other people. Like, okay. And it took me setting up all these artificial scenarios where I ask people to come talk to me over the internet, record them, and broadcast them. But I guess it takes everyone a different path to learn how to interact with people. So, yeah, I'll take it. Number 7. This is kind of a corollary to number 2, but most people are more pleasant than you'd think. And so I have been pleasantly surprised by how often people are up to, if not doing something for you, recommending someone who would come onto the show. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of random comments on different things. There's a lot of info coming at me. A lot of time, I can only imagine the amount of time that other people have to spend going through all the comments, commenting back, looking at everything, planning these things. And I'm still consistently surprised, but I think it might make sense that some of the bigger, more popular names out there have been the more pleasant and the easier to interact with. Like, prime example, Andrew Hurley of Vegas Wine. He's just like the nicest guy in the world. And, his channel is crazy. People watch him from all over the place. People love that guy. And it makes sense. I don't think I've ever commented on anything he said that he hasn't personally responded to. He got back to my DMs right away. He was easy to work with. And he's just like a real pleasure. It's like, but there's a reason so many people like you, because you are likable. So I've been pleasantly surprised the longer and longer I do this, because most people are far more pleasant than you'd realize. Number 8 was sales isn't a bad word. Advertising isn't a bad word. Marketing, promotion. I think before you try anything entrepreneurial, which I guess this is, not in the sense that this is making money, but more in the sense of I'm kind of doing this without asking anyone for permission. You kind of think like sales, marketing, like it all just kind of seems like the vague side stuff that like big businesses do. And it's like, like that's not really my jam. That's not what I do. But I've got news for you. If you start anything, if you try to get people to pay attention, if you try to get people interested in something you're doing, that is the whole hurdle. It all is lead generation. It's all just systematically trying to find people that would be interested in what you're offering, even if what you're offering is free, and put it in front of them and say, would you be interested? And likewise, getting guests on this show is trying to find people who might be interested in what you offer. In this case, a shared platform and shared set of interests, and people who are perhaps interesting to the person coming on. Like, would you like these people to hear your message? It is all just sales in one form or another, top to bottom. I just happen to be selling a lot of things that are free monetarily. The show is not free in terms of attention and time. And those are the two most valuable things that anyone has. So, is this show worth your time? I think sometimes not. And that's something that tortures me. And that's what I work on. And I can only get better there. But yeah, that's lesson number 8. Marketing sales, not a bad thing. You have to get people to be interested, or what's the point? On that note, number 9, no one's listening at first. And it's true. And it was especially true for me because for a long time, I didn't tell anyone in my day-to-day life about it. I did post some things here and there. I did try to build a little bit of interest, that sort of thing. But I didn't really disclose to the people around me that I was doing it. Part of that was self-consciousness. There is still a part of me that's like, I look at what I do, I look at what I say, I look at the guests I have, the conversations I have, and I'm very proud of a lot of them. But I always do see the places that I can improve. So there's a part of me that's like, it just isn't good enough really to rely on. And take that good or bad, but it's how I feel, especially at the beginning. And the other part is I am in a weird, ambiguous state where I don't want to make anyone that I work with ever feel awkward about it. I don't want to, put anyone in a weird position. And, I think I've done a good job. And I think if I went back through the entire catalog of the whole show, I've probably said the name of my restaurant maybe 5 or 6 times. I've tried to keep it out of it. I've tried to, it is obviously a big part of my life where I work 50 hours a week. So it does come up, but usually it's like at my restaurant, like I try to leave things intentionally vague because I'm not, this is a separate thing. So I also don't want people, to feel like, do I listen to this? Like, I just don't want to put anyone in a weird spot, honestly. Finally, you will discover if you put anything on the internet, if you try to start anything, that just at the beginning, no one does listen, And it's a lesson that I've heard different people in social media say, and I didn't know how true it would be until I got started. Everyone starts at 0. And some people grow faster than others. Some people, it takes a while. Everyone grows eventually if you keep doing the work and you keep consistently trying to improve day by day, offer more value, and just try to provide more of yourself. Yeah, everyone starts at 0. Before I released the first podcast, I had 0 listeners. And then from there, I've just grown. And the cool thing about growth, too, is that if you do things consistently, there is a compounding aspect to it, where I've tracked the number of listens, downloads, plays, amount listened from day one. And if I graph it, which shout out to AI for being able to graph things pretty easily from Excel sheets, I can see, the curve is going up. And you can see the rate of change as it goes along. And it does just continue to get better and better every freaking month. And it's wild how much compounding compounds. I still try to remind myself, and this is why I'm so glad that I tracked from day one, that the number of listens that I got yesterday is what I would have killed for a full week at the beginning. And it's like every single time I tell myself that, it's like, this is crazy. You grow person by person and subscriber by subscriber, and then it just keeps compounding. It's wild. So when you start, no one's listening. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because when you start, you're not as good as you think you are. And I'm talking to Andrew there, but take that for yourself if you want. People will start listening. Just keep getting better and don't stop. Number 10, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, on some level, you're not going to keep doing it. So I had to learn this pretty quickly. There are times that I didn't want to do this. There are times that the schedule that I had interfered with recordings. There's times that the ambiguity got too much. I had too many emails, I had too many decisions. I didn't know enough about how to edit things. There are times that I got very overwhelmed. You can buckle down and push through it for a while, but if you do not enjoy what you're doing, there will be a time that you do say, enough, wash my hands of this, I am done. And the only thing guaranteed to stop your growth is you if you stop. So what did I do? 1, I think that complexity and just ambiguity was a lot more damaging to me than even the volume or the hardness of the work. It was the 15 emails back and forth that I had to do to set up a firm scheduled date. It was, how do I open this email for this cold outreach to this person that I'm interested in, and then do it again and again and again. And so I realized pretty quickly, for the things that I had to do again and again, I had to systematize it. I couldn't let it be ambiguous. I couldn't let complexity creep in, or else I was going to lose my mind. So I'll take both those examples. Those are good ones. I signed up for a scheduling service. It's just Calendly. It's the cheapest one that I could get. You don't even have to pay for it if you only want one link. I have a couple links because I just needed it to make sure that I could get people on that I wanted in reasonable times. Even in adding that in, learn some lessons. Like if you are going to get someone on who just wrote a book, maybe don't have them book in the like next week unless you want to power read that book and spend all your time making notes and trying to put it together and stress yourself out. Maybe block off the days that you want to spend time with your wife if you want to see her and keep your marriage going. If you have to meet on those days, maybe meet early in the morning so you still have the full day, like little things like that. But getting a scheduling service set up, my God, the amount of admin that is involved in figuring out schedules and picking a date. I'm not joking when I'm saying like some people 15 emails back and forth. It makes sense. They look, what is your time zone? Okay, I'm on the East Coast. I'm Central. I like Monday mornings. Monday mornings don't usually work for me. Tuesday nights. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It just never stops. Versus, hey, here's my scheduling link. I have tons of times open. Pick the one that works. One email. Done. Changed my life. Started using it at work, actually. It was so transformative. In addition to that, there is a lot of like, hey, you're cool. I want you on the show. Like I send messages that are some variation of that theme a lot. So I had to go through and, I looked at all the messages I was sending people. I was like, I usually say XYZ. I did one template, copied it, and then I copy and paste that into my messages, and then I personalize it. So I'm not reinventing the wheel every time. The explanation that I give for what the show's about, the links that I give to the shows that are most impactful that people would enjoy. It's like, why would I look those up every time? And I'm saying that. It seems obvious, but I'm saying that to past Andrew, who did do that and who did waste a lot of time. I do think that there's a value in going through that because, again, you try a lot of things and you don't know what's going to stick. And you notice that the emails that you include links to your best shows get a better response. And it's like, oh, maybe I should put that on. Seems obvious in retrospect, but you don't really know these things until you try them out. And it's like, when I give my heartfelt explanation of what the show's about, it usually converts better than, hey, this is the show. Here are the numbers. What do you think? And so you start putting together and piecing together all these different things. And yeah, complexity is the enemy there. You can do a ton, but if every single day the things you're doing are recreating the same things you did the day before, if every day you're working your ass off and you're not moving the needle at all, you will give up. If you put together these systems though, if you put together repeatable processes where, okay, if I do this this way, and I add my personal touch at the end, you actually begin to see like, oh, I am doing something. I am moving the ball forward. And then almost a year later, I have done almost 100 shows and I'm filming the 100th show right now. And it's just like, whoa. So yeah, systems. You learn better when you have a reason to remember what you learned. It's my number 12. Number 12. No, that's a number 11. Sorry. Yeah, so you learn better when you have a reason to learn what you're learning. I've always heard that this is true. And, I'm sure if you've listened to the show, my background is in bartending, and then I did a segue into wine for a long time. And one of the big things they tell you in the Quartermaster Psalms is, if you want to learn something, teach it. I think it's a similar principle here, where when you learn something and you're just learning it for yourself, but it's not going anywhere, like you're studying the great blends of Chianti, but unless you work in a restaurant that has Chianti, unless you have something that you're tying that information to, it's like, why would your brain hold on to it? Your brain was designed by evolution to hold on to salient, important facts. And if you are memorizing all these great blends, if you're memorizing all this random stuff, and there's no reason to implement it, forgetting is what our brain does so that we're not cluttered with all this useless information. And like it or not, unless you give your brain a reason to remember something, the information you're studying seems useless, even if you did want to remember it. So you learn things so much better when you have a reason to learn them. I would say, not every book that I've read for the show has been useful. Not everything that I've covered has been the most interesting, but I have been transformed by some of the things that I've learned. I have been wildly amazed at my recall on certain books because I know that I'm going to have to talk about them later. I'm writing them down. I'm getting quotes out. I'm looking over the quotes. I'm categorizing things. Like, it is all the lessons that you learn in school just repeated as an adult. But some of us learn slower than others. So maybe I needed a reason to to learn things. Kelly White with her Wine Confident, that book, if you listen to this show, you've heard me quote that book a ton. Wine loves its contradictions. I love that phrase. Souther Teague, getting introduced to him and his bar, Amargo Amor. Like, I think about that guy all the time. You know, the fact that he doesn't have margaritas. It's just like, that's incredible. And it's a wonderful instance of someone doing their own thing differently and it working. It's fantastic. If you ever want to make sure that you learn something and learn it well, I'd recommend, talk about it on social media. Try to make a video about it. Record yourself talking about it. It will really challenge your conception of what you can and can't learn, and you will be amazed at how well it sticks. So, number 11. So, number 12 next. Realistic self-appraisal is hard. This is something I've suffered with pretty much since the beginning of the show. And I don't think I'll ever land at the golden mean. I am variously tortured by myself. Somewhere in between, I suck and I'm really proud that I'm doing this. I think anyone who records themselves, tries something new, puts it out on the internet, listens to feedback, I think you always have this weird, just internal, ick, where it's like, I want it to be better. I'm not good enough. I'm just going to leave that one there. I've talked about it enough on this podcast where it's, it's the thing that I have not answered yet. It will probably continue. We'll probably film episode 200, and my first one will be realistic self-appraisal is hard. Number 13, similar vein, but it felt different enough. I wanted to write it as a different one. You're not as good as you think you are. Also, you're not as bad as you think you are. I think whenever you do anything, there is a tendency, depending on your temperament, to either be too hard or too soft on yourself. I would say that were I not recording myself for the internet, were I not recording myself and leaving a digital trace of what I was saying, that on average, my speech is decent. I have a pretty good vocabulary. I mumble sometimes, but I'm not incoherent. So all the judgment and all the thoughts that I have about myself, I'm not that bad. But I'm also not as good as I think in my optimistic and upbeat moments too. Off the top of my head, I can think of a list of things that I'm everything that I want to work on, from I move my head too much to I don't look at the camera enough to I don't accept silences as well as I could. I want to fill them. The list goes on. And I think that is part of life too. You always want, you're never going to finish your to-do list. You will die with things on your to-do list. Number 14, your life, your job, your past, your struggles all have meaning and are all actually inherently useful. Risking turning this podcast into sounding like one of my therapy sessions, I think that I struggle with this. I think there are actually a lot of people that struggle with this in the world. It is weird to record yourself. It is weird to put yourself out there. It feels I don't know, you're overstepping your bounds. Who am I to put myself out there? Who am I to think that people would want to listen to me? But it's something that I've learned more and more, and it's something I've just begun to accept. There are people in the world right now who, 1, would have liked to have lived your life. 2, who are on the path to living your life and are just a couple years behind. 3, who possibly thought about living your life and ended up on a different path. 4, are genuinely curious for no reason. And 5, fear your life and would like to stay away. And all 5 of these people in different camps would find value from you talking about the things you've done, the things you've learned, and the person you are. It is not something that would have ever occurred to me. It's not something that I ever would have been able to articulate, but there it is. And I think that is true of everyone. because everyone from every different angle has something of value. I forget who it was that said, in some way, every man is my superior, and in that I can learn from him. But even the person that's lived the most boring or the weirdest or the worst or the most difficult life, like there is something you can hear and learn from anyone. So yeah, again, this is not my therapy session and I'm not going to open that door too much, but it feels weird to put yourself out there because you think, who would want to hear this? But the more and more I do, the more I realize that, and this applies to everyone, my life, the things I've done, my past, they do have value because they might hit someone, they might reach someone at the moment that someone needs it. And that's what all this is about, right? So, number 15, if what you're doing doesn't make you nervous, you may not be doing the right thing. So I say that again. And, for those of you listening, this is not me preaching to you what to do. You do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. This is all for Andrew about a year ago. Before I started this, I did do a lot of different things. And I actually did some difficult things. And, I've gone from super broke, doing nothing with my life, really, really just in a down place in the course of 10 years to being a GM and having a pretty comfortable life and addressing, not solving, but addressing a lot of the problems that I had. And, I look around 10 years later and it's like, oh, I have a cozy life. I have a wife. I have a home. I'm comfortable. Wow. Like all that happened pretty easily. But I found myself in a place where even the things that I was tackling and challenging myself with and going for, it was all still comfortable. I know I've talked about running the marathon on the show, and I am glad that I did that. And it's a little while that I did do that. But even that, I was like never nervous about it. It seemed like a long list of to-dos that at the end, the last thing I checked off was run marathon. And, it was very anticlimactic. I was happy I did it. And that was just kind of it. The podcast was nerve-wracking. I would say for the first 20 episodes I filmed, my heart was pounding through my chest. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense, too. Like, what was I so afraid of? Talking to someone, another human being on the internet? Like, okay. There was something about it, like, it seemed to be exposing more of myself to the world than I think I ever have. And, if you've worked with me, if you live near me, if you've known me in my day-to-day life, I am generally a pretty reserved person. I may have been working in bars for a long time, but I never really was like the source of the party, if that makes sense. Like I was always the host and not like the cool guy or the guy that got along, or like I've never been overly social. And I've always been able to have friends. I've always been able to get along with people, usually in like high school through like 26, because I was the guy that would always have the booze, go out drinking, be at the bar. Like, and that's a different form of social, but I was never like overly gregarious. I was never like that guy. I don't know. When I got into bartending, I wanted to get good at it because I thought it was a good challenge. I was very interested in it, but I never thought that I would excel in the parts of the job that are like being the cool guy. I was never the guy that was super charming and got all the people to come through his charm, but I thought I would be able to master it through getting good at the technical aspects, learning drinks, learning how to balance drinks, learning classic mixology, learning more about wine. You see that I think there are probably a couple different paths you could take to succeeding in bartending. I took the technical aspect and I tried to run it down the line versus the social aspect. Fair enough. I'm glad I did. A lot of good came from that. But I think I overdeveloped one area and didn't develop another. And you can't get good at doing interviews and conversations in a podcast without getting good at talking to other human beings. It's just like, that's it. That is all you're doing. So it's just another skill set. And, it scared the shit out of me. And on the other side of that, it's been awesome. Like worlds better, worlds more improvement, worlds more confidence and self-esteem and happiness just from doing the things that made me the most nervous. Like, I cannot express to you the cloud nine, excited, joyful feelings that I got after those first 20 interviews. I still, after an interview now, walk away thinking that was fucking awesome. And it is. And, I may not be as terrified now, but there's never a point that I don't have slight butterflies. And yeah, so if I could go back and talk to young Andrew, who was stressing about doing these conversations, who maybe did try hard things, but avoided the things that made him nervous, like lean in, because nervousness is another way of saying excitement, I think. And you can't live an exciting life without being excited. Like, you just can't. And so do things that make you nervous. Again, I said it before, but start the job, ask out the girl, start the habit, start the art, do the thing. You'll be thankful you did. Number 16, this has been huge. Track everything. Everything is arbitrary. Everything is a game. The single best thing I did in all this was tracking from day one. I know on every day, going back to the very first day, how many listeners, how many downloads, how many hours, everything. It has been unbelievably good for my whole time doing this. Because hearkening back to what I said before, I cannot overstress. No one is listening at the beginning. No one is. You get the 3 random bots and the person who accidentally clicked on your podcast and your mom, and that's it for a while. And that's good, because if you start anything, you probably suck at it. However, if you keep doing it, people do start listening. And then you start wondering, how am I doing? And so you can kind of hope for vibes and see what happens, or you can track it and you can look at it and you can chart the numbers on a giant dry erase board behind you, like I do. And you can look week by week or month by month, and you can see the thing grow. You can see it take on a life of its own. You can see what works, what doesn't. And yeah. Because, this one also is another subcategory in the, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. I think our modern day and age is so good at this that you might as well use it for your benefit. It's just a game. There's a reason I said that. Because at the end of the day, if I have the best conversation in the world, I connect with someone and I get 1/10 of the normal listeners, so what? Okay, great story. And it's something that broke my heart. It still breaks my heart. I'm going to rectify it, but I had, I think, the best interview I've ever done. It's this lady named Agnes, and she is a Latvian sommelier. She runs a channel called No Sediment, and me and her just really hit it off. She's super cool. She's knowledgeable. She's fun. She's down to earth. And it was one of those conversations where 35, 40 minutes in, I just had this thought man, this is going to be awesome. Oh, and it broke my heart. I didn't hit record. And so yes, that one's ultimately on me. There was technical difficulties at the beginning, so we had to switch recording. And I just did not turn it back on. And holy shit, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done, because that one was gold. And here's the thing. Yes. Does it hurt me? Oh my, I'm sure you can hear it. It destroyed me when she was talking and I raised my hand and I was like, I have something to tell you and I am so sorry. And she even said, oh, I guess we're just having a fun conversation then. It's the whole reason I brought that up. The point I'm trying to make here is I enjoyed that as much as if I had enjoyed that and I'd published it, does that mean it was worthless? And I think no. I loved getting to know her, talking to her, and she's going to come back because she's freaking awesome. Do I need people listening to the show? If tomorrow I was told that no one listened to the show and no one ever would again, but I could keep doing it, would I do it? And my answer to that is absolutely, because I love getting to meet these people. I love doing this, but I do want people to listen to it. I do want it to be a thing. Part of that is, again, me coming back to the game. This is a game, and it's a game that everyone's playing. to get some of the people that I want to get on the show, I have to play the game too. Some of the people that I've asked to come on, one of the first things we do is ask, what is the viewership? What is the demographics? Who are these people? So I have to track it. But having those numbers has given me the ability to say, this is it. Take it or leave it. And a lot of people have taken it. I think a lot of the independent podcasts don't go through the steps to track it. And I'm so glad that I did. Number 17 is if you start and you don't stop, you can do anything. I fully believe that. I also want to add the caveat that you can do anything does not mean that it's easy. Because there's definitely been times where this has not been easy, where I've had to sacrifice mornings, wake up late, get up early, when I could have been watching shows with my wife or relaxing. I've been reading books about terroir. I've been emailing people and waiting to hear back, following up, and on and on and on. Kaba. And it's awesome. I think it was Mark Manson. I don't remember exactly who said this, but essentially, your life is always going to be difficult. Like, that's one of the core tenets of Buddhism, too. Life is suffering. You're always going to have a hard time. Getting in shape will come with problems. You're going to be sore. You're going to feel tired. Being out of shape will come with problems, too. You might suffer and have bad health. You might not look the way you want to look. Life is all about, in my opinion, choosing the problems that you want, that you'll be comfortable with, and that you'll be happy to have. So, yeah, start something and don't stop it. If you're working on something you love, if you're working on a passion project, the problems that you have are problems that, in a lot of ways, are of your own choosing. And I think there's a lot of value in that. Number 18, you need a productivity system. I never thought I would say that on the internet, but so I did. So I go with David Allen's getting things done, not perfectly. And, I do want to caveat this, that, there is going to be no productivity system that's going to solve the inherent nature of the world, which is there's a lot to do. You have infinite wishes, limited time, limited resources. So you kind of just have to pick one and roll with it. I like the GTD method. If you are not familiar, I'm going to summarize, but really bastardize it and simplify it. In a nutshell, the thing that I like about getting things done is it's one of the first books that I've found that truly addresses the fact that there's just so much to do. How do you even capture and not go crazy? The sheer admin of the modern world. So his system is a lot more complicated than I'm going to explain here. This is just what I do, but it boils down to a couple core points. One, you need a system to capture ideas. And what I mean by that is when you are walking around the house, when you are doing your day-to-day things, and that thought pops in your head, I should buy small trash bags. What do you do with that thought? So there are two different ways you can handle that. One, try to hold on to that thought. Two, put it somewhere. By put it somewhere, I mean notebook, note app, freaking text someone. Like, you should have a system for capture, because if you try to hold it on all in your head, inevitably the thought about the small trash bags going around in there also will all of a sudden bump into and I need more dishwasher soap. Oh, and you know what? My wife, she did tell me that I needed to pick up something from the store. What was it? Was it cat litter? And like on. And your brain is not built to hold information. What he says is your brain is for having ideas, not for keeping ideas. Like, your brain is an idea machine, not a filing cabinet. So, one, have a system for capture. Two, have some sort of sorting system for where are you going to put these things. And so mine is simple. I have one master to-do list broken down by day, and I just write things onto it. And if I decide I don't want to do it, I move it to another note, just computerized note that's called random thoughts. It's there. My brain knows to trust it. When I write things down, when I move it over, I know that it's written down somewhere. I can forget about it. Lastly, he has a principle. If you think of something to do and you are not doing something right then, and it would take less than, I think he says 2 minutes, but I just do a minute. If what pops into your head that needs to be done or what comes across your attention that needs to be done would Takes 60 seconds. Do it right then. And you would be shocked how much little bullshit that one rule gets off your plate. Because, yes, part of the bane of existence in the modern era is there's all this random ass admin overhead that no one wants to do. But when it pops in your head, that email you have to send, if it doesn't have to be pretty, if it is a short response and it takes 30 seconds, send it off. Send it and go. Send it and go. You would be surprised with those few rules how much of my life has been simplified and streamlined. You know, I run this, I contact these people, run a restaurant, and I have my wife, we have her parents-in-law. Like, with all this complexity, all these to-do lists, everything, just having these simple systems in place that I follow religiously, like, I think I'd go crazy otherwise. So, like, you need a productivity system. You don't have to adopt the productivity system wholesale. You can modify it, and you just need to try it out. And for those of you listening, if you wanted to try out what I just said and it doesn't work, here's my 2 cents. That's fine. Go try another one. There's 1,000 different ways to get things done. There's time blocking. There's what is it? Pomodoros, you know, like whatever it is that you need to be productive, whatever it is that you need to calm the mental noise of the 21st century, it'll be worth it. Just try it. Trust me. Number 19, CRM. Yes. So it's a funny one, but I highly recommend if you are doing anything that has a lot of moving parts, has contacts and emails and schedules, I would highly recommend getting some sort of system in place, some sort of database. There's a reason that pretty ubiquitous, trying to pronounce a big word on air like an idiot towards the end of my podcast. Pretty much throughout the whole business world, you have databases for anything that you do. There is an inherent complexity that you reach with just tons of contacts, dates, notes, where you do kind of need a system. And, you know, I'm not saying that you should go out and pay for some crazy giant system. I use a thing called Airtable. It's free if you don't use all the different doodads and whiz givesmiths and all the things that they do offer. It's because it is 2026. It has AI-enabled editing where you can simply describe what you want it to build and it will build it. If you don't like what it does, you can ask it to change and it'll change it. And my God, being able to click on a button and see a separate schedule, all the filmings, all the podcast date releases, click on their names and see what's their email, what are the notes. Like when I set it up, I was like, will this be worth it? And like 2 days later, I was like, how did I not have this? So yes, if you do anything that starts getting too complex, Google, what is a CRM? Google database, look up Airtable. Again, it's free. Like you just have to organize more. And the ounce of organization will prevent your pound of pain. I promise you. Don't do what I did. Don't be stupid. Number 20 is a big one for me. And I do want to make sure I hit this correctly. So to do anything, especially anything you want to do, you have to have your emotions under control. And notice that I said that in exactly that way. I did not say you have to suppress your emotions. Definitely not. That is the dumbest idea in the world. You do have to have your emotions under control. There will be times, I've had these times, when I have been stressed, angry, sad, God, name it. I have had fights and then walked into conversations. I have gotten scary news. I've gotten news that has concerned me. I've had all sorts of things happen. You have to have the ability to say, yes, I see you, emotion. I honor it. I will come back for you. There is such a thing as emotional regulation. And yes, sometimes, especially if you have not been in touch with your emotions, they will burst forth. Sometimes you can't control it. Things happen. But for the most part, when you have a bad day outside, if you show up to the field, you gotta play the game. And it's a skill. It's a skill like everything, you know? And, you know, I'm just talking about kind of what have classically been categorized as the negative emotions here. There's an aspect of it too, like At some point, if you start doing something like this, the people around you will find out, either because you tell them or just they will. And what is that going to be like? Are you going to be embarrassed? Are you going to be able to work through that? Are you going to be able to hear someone talking about the show and know that they've maybe listened to the ones that you're not as proud of? And are you going to be able to move through that too? And like, I don't know, this game I think has levels and levels to it. And I fully expect come episode 150, 200, I'm going to look back and I'm going to hear me saying these things and I'm going to laugh and be like, you didn't know shit. At least for now, it's something I've learned and it's something I'd highly recommend. If you're going to do anything, you need to find a way to have your emotions under control. And again, under control is not suppressed. They are different things. And number 21, I have a lot of questions and I have no answers. This has been a hard one for me. I think this is a hard one for a lot of people. I think that uncertainty is harder for most people than even negative things. I think it was Chris Williamson that said, we so abhor uncertainty that we'd rather imagine a certain negative future than just sit in uncertainty. When you do anything, for the longest time, you just don't know, is it going to work? When you do something, you never know what's going to land. You never know what's going to be popular. I am consistently surprised, and to emphasize it again, consistently, by what takes off and what doesn't in the clips that I release from the show. There is one clip that, for whatever reason, got like 50,000 views in like no time. And like, I still to this day look at it like, what is it about that one clip? What is it? I will release things that I'm like, this has been like one of the things I go back to, and it'll get like, 500? And like, again, it is not for me to judge, because no matter what I think or what I would pay attention to, there are other people in the world, and what they are interested in is worth knowing, you know? There is a danger, and it's called audience capture, where the things that the audience like molds the performer into doing more and more of that. And then you get to a situation where it's like, yeah, that one clip about the relationship is all he talks about now. And now he's the guy that talks about relationships in the bar. Like, so there's a danger there. It's a tightrope. You know, you have to get your feedback from somewhere. I prefer to get it from reality. And what are the things I can see from reality? Very quantifiable. Views, likes, comments, shares. It is harder to sort through the news, because I think it was Mark Twain that said, everything that's popular is wrong. But then, yeah, that's the thing. You know, the more and more I think about it, the more I go back to the Aristotle thing that, you know, vices are the extremes and virtue is the golden mean. So what's valuable is the thing that's not too unbalanced on one side or the other, but what's right in between them. So I'm sure, like, if you've gotten this far, you have noticed from everything I've said that number 21 is true. I have a lot of questions and not as many answers. What will the show look like in 10 years? Who knows? The truth is, none of us even know if we're going to be alive. I think AI is supposed to eat us all. Will I be able to continue doing 2 episodes a week? I think so. But, you know, life changes. Life changes all the time. Who's going to come on? And, you know, what is going to be my next big episode? What am I going to do to improve my speech? How am I going to find ways to improve the show without sacrificing my sanity? No, there are questions. There are a lot of questions. I've got no answers. So, yeah, I think that I'm going to send this one home. If you're still listening at this point, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It has been a wild ride. 100 episodes. I've had some of my most exciting moments, and I've met some of the coolest people, and I've loved every minute of it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to see how far I can do it, and I'm not going to stop. 26, I wouldn't bet against me. We will survive 2026. That is my personal motto for this year's. Yeah. If you have any questions, if you would like to hear more things like this, if you want to hear more about what I've got going on, if you would be interested in me doing episodes here and there I've thought about doing it. I've thought about doing one on pairing. I've thought about doing one on how I ended up winning the last slinger standing. Yeah, I've thought about doing a lot of different ones. If this would be something that would interest you, please let me know. You can always get in touch with me or listen to the whole back catalog of all the episodes on my website, servesyouRightPod.com. And yeah, I am greatly indebted to everyone who's listening. I love you all. Andrew Roy, Serves You Right, signing off. Thank you for listening. That is today's episode. Now, if you have not taken a moment to check out our website, please do. It's servesyouRightPod.com. We have past episodes and all sorts of other things there. If you want to get in touch with me, that's the place to do it. I do appreciate that you've given me your most valuable asset, your time and attention. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned. We have some really cool guests coming up. I would hate it if you missed it. Cheers.